This is the DragonCon PreGame Show. Sponsored by the Dish Store of Columbus on News Radio 540 WDAK.
Back, it's the DragonCon PreGame Show brought to you by the Dish Store of Columbus, your local Dish Network provider. I'm your host, Wes Carroll, and DragonCon weekend approaching this Labor Day weekend, just a few days away. You can still get tickets at dragoncon.org and find the full guest list of everyone who will be appearing at DragonCon. All right, joining us by phone, the star of stage, big screen, small screen, beauty pageant. She's an iconic sex symbol and, quite frankly, one of the couple of reasons I got into radio. It's Loni Anderson.
Thank you.
Great to have you here on the show. Looking forward to seeing you at DragonCon coming up in a few days. What are your thoughts?
I'm just looking forward to the whole thing and being back in Atlanta.
And you'll be joined by one of your co-stars from WKRP, Howard Hessman will be there.
Howard Hessman, yes.
How long's it been since you've seen him?
Oh, actually, we try and get together and have lunch, as many of us as are in town, about once a year, just to make sure. And we, of course, email. Now that there's all this electronic stuff, we can keep in touch.
Right. I didn't find a Twitter account for you. You're not tweeting yet?
No, I'm not tweeting.
Not on the Facebook giving updates on everything that you're doing?
I kind of got into acting so that I could be somebody else and not me. And that was the fun part of it. And so I'm pretty private.
Well, I hear you on that one. Now, you started out early on, I guess. You were doing pageants at a young age, right?
Yes, I did. And I was on stage by the time I was 10. And I did some radio myself. I did a lot of announcing and commercials and pretty much a showbiz girl ever since I can remember. Because
you actually got a degree in teaching, right?
I do, because my parents always said, have plan B. And show business is not the most stable career. If you're going to go into it, people are always saying, oh, I don't know if that's a good idea. Just think what happens to people. And so I have a teaching degree, and I'm very proud of it. I'm glad I have it. I admire teachers so much. I don't think I was a very good one. But my daughter is a superintendent of schools who's married to another superintendent. My sister just retired from teaching. My grandma was a teacher. I'm kind of surrounded. Surrounded
by teachers. So you're sort of the black sheep there, aren't you?
I was.
Now, you were talking about show business being an iffy thing. I've got a quote here that's attributed to you, and I'll see if this is something that you really said. But It says, look up the definition of rejection in the dictionary, get really comfortable with it, and then maybe you can get into acting.
That's exactly what I said. And it's usually what I say, too, if I'm speaking to a class of newcomers, like at UCLA or any college people coming into the theater department, because, it really, I just was at dinner with an agent, and I'm thinking about how I began, and I don't even know how these young people do it, because submissions happened, of course, electronically now, and there are like 3,500 submissions made all over the country for one role.
Wow.
For every one role.
And it's very different now, sort of breaking into it.
Yeah.
You have this, the reality star world where sometimes all you need is a chance to get on a show and suddenly you're an actor.
Right. And that's not really acting.
Well, no, not necessarily that, but I mean,
it could get you noticed. I
exactly.
mean, it depends on if you want, if you have a burning desire, like I always had, to be an actress, or if you have a burning desire to be a celebrity. I really think they're not the same thing. Because I think you have a lot more chances there aren't that many scripted shows, but there are a lot more outlets. There are cable and all that. I mean, we had 3 major stations when we did WKRP, so virtually at least 1/3 of the country was watching you at night, and so you had a big audience, and it
right.
made bigger stars that lasted a lot longer. I don't think the kids have that opportunity today.
Well, let's talk about WKRP. You got 2 Emmy nominations on the show.
Yeah.
And
I'm very excited, yeah.
And you are part of an ongoing debate, I guess, that's gone on for years and years and years. You're part of, these are the 3 that I've got, so I'll lob them at you and you can answer.
Okay.
It's one of those either-or deals. Jennifer or Bailey?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, really, if you were going for the sassy, or the sweet and darling.
Right, and your preference, I'm sure, is Jennifer. Right?
Of course. Loved my role, absolutely loved it. I always said that Jennifer had exactly the right thing to say when everybody else would think of it in the ride in the car on the way home. But she knew immediately what to say in a situation.
Well, I think most of the people that I've worked with in radio will admit that when they got into radio, at least the men, they wanted to be Johnny Fever, but they wanted to make sure Jennifer was working somewhere in the building.
And isn't that great? That's so fabulous.
The other two I had for you were the Marianne or Ginger.
Right. And, of course, Marianne, the young lady who played Marianne, a very good friend of mine, by the way. And we've done a couple of projects together, and she's darling. But Ginger, very glamorous.
Yeah, she was.
Mm-hmm.
And then Samantha or Jeannie, that's the other one that comes up.
And Barbara Eden, also one of my dearest friends. And so I guess I just have to go with her no matter what.
Absolutely. She and I go way back as well.
Oh, God, I just had dinner with her last week, and she is still the cutest person on the planet.
She absolutely is. She once called me adorable.
And she would.
All right, now I wanted to talk a little bit about, you talked about having a character who was blonde and smart kind of combined in the same, but the decision to go blonde was something that you had to make.
It did. It was. I mean, I was a serious brunette actress my whole life and had no intention of ever being, I mean, the sex symbol was like the furthest thing from my mind, and being blonde also was something that I had only toyed with in a different role here and there in a wig. And so it was kind of, I thought it was going to be temporary, and here I sit after all these years talking to you with blonde hair. So it just stuck.
Is it true that your mom once told you while watching TV that pointing to an actor on TV that was the kind of guy that you should marry, and it was Burt Reynolds?
Well, no, it was the kind of guy she wished that she could have in her life.
Oh,
It reminded her so much of my dad. My dad looked very much like Burt. And so he was Mom's very favorite actor. And she used to say, oh, if I could only meet him. And as a matter of fact, she did before she died. Burt and I were together. And so kind of a dream come true for my mom.
Now, how different do you think, I mean, you guys were obviously a celebrity couple before the current age of celebrity couples with the paparazzi and the way things are. How different do you think things would have been for the two of you with that kind of scrutiny as a celebrity couple?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. We were pretty scrutinized in our day. Burt used to say, we're the top of the wedding cake. You know, everybody wants to know everything we're doing. We had people in our yard and paparazzi following us everywhere. So that wasn't much different, except that there wasn't the amount of coverage because of all the outlets that you have today.
No TMZ or anything like that.
No TMZ, but they had all those other shows, and so they're pretty noisy and all the tabloids. We were in the tabloids every week. Mm-hmm.
Now, because you guys were a celebrity couple then and not today, you never got one of those cool nicknames with your names morphed together?
I know. We didn't have because we just were Burt and Loni. Of course, we had those two short 4-letter names. But
well, could I come up with one for you? Could we call you Bernie?
Okay.
All right, Bernie. So that would be if anybody's writing any more articles about you guys, they could call you Bernie.
Or Lobu.
Oh, that's good too. Yeah, I like that. Now, obviously, you were talking about how heavily scrutinized you guys were, and obviously it was a very public and sort of, at least through the eyes of the paparazzi, it got sort of ugly.
Well, and people make it more ugly than it is a lot of the time just because it's more entertaining.
Yeah, so things are okay with you and him today?
Yeah, absolutely. We just we talk. We've seen each other, and we have a wonderful son together, and so yeah, it's not at all that glamorous, acrimonious thing that people remember, I guess.
Now, one of the things that you've done in your career, you did some voice work. You were Blondie Bumstead.
I was. Yeah, thank you for knowing.
Now, some of your more recent stuff, you played Tori Spelling's mom.
Yes, I did, and I had a wonderful time with Tori. She's so cute and talented and very clever, and we had a wonderful time together.
Now, the rumors were that her mom wasn't overly fond of how she was portrayed on it, but that wasn't necessarily at you.
Yeah, we changed her name to Kiki, and we made her a character because actually Candy and Tori have, I'm sure, had their ups and downs, but Candy and I go way back because Aaron and Candy, I did a movie for Aaron. honestly, most people aren't as funny as a character would be that you make up.
Right.
So Candy, just kind of more of a regular lady than we portrayed her character in So Notorious.
And I guess you've recently played, you were Jay Leno's mom on The Tonight Show?
Yes, I was, and that was so much fun. Oh, my gosh, because I got to be all vampy, and it was really, we had a wonderful time.
Now,
I started out on The Tonight Show way back before I was blonde, doing sketches with Johnny Carson.
And you also did some work with Bob Hope, another one.
About 10 specials, and one with Barbara Eden. We just talked about it the other night, and how much fun those always were. And because sketch comedy, well, there's Saturday Night Live, but, the variety is now turned into American Idol, and So You Think You Can Dance, and, America's Got Talent, and all those kinds of things. So it's a little different, but it's still variety.
Even the talk shows are very different. The Carson days, he would try to make them laugh, and today it just seems to be, can you make them applaud?
And announce your latest project.
Right, exactly.
And in the old days, we actually just went on and had conversations. Murs and Mike Douglas and Dinah. It was more actual talk shows.
Well, let's talk about DragonCon. It's just a few days away now.
And I know it. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody because, as someone said to me in a department store just recently, I'm so glad you're here because then there would be no other time I'd ever see you in my life. And, we feel like we're regular folks like everybody else, except that you may have made an impression on someone's life and they really do want to see you. And this is our opportunity to say thank you for watching us all those years, or buying our books and coming to our movies and sending us those great fan letters. And it's just a nice, I find it I haven't had one horrible experience with fans. They've always been lovely, and I appreciate them beyond belief.
Well, I look forward to coming up to you personally and thanking you for getting me into this career in some small way.
Thank you.
Or at least a big way.
Love radio.
Yeah, so I'll look forward to that, and look forward to having everybody come out see you at DragonCon coming up this week in Atlanta. Thank you so much for joining us, Loni.
Thank you, and I have to say, Atlanta, Bert and I used to own a home in Loganville, and we just were in Atlanta a lot of the time. We did a movie there together. It's such a beautiful place, so I'm looking forward to seeing everybody.
More DragonCon pregame show brought to you by the Dish Store of Columbus right after this.
This is the DragonCon pregame show. Sponsored by the Dish Store of Columbus on News Radio 540 WDAK.